Welcome to Unbiased and On the Fence. I'm Shane. Thank you guys so much for joining us for the Power of One. How are you, Eileen?
I'm good. I almost felt like we were going to say the old show, but then the right words popped out of your mouth, and I was like, "Wow, I'm still not used to that yet."
Yep. Last night it was the same way. I consciously thought about it. Living in the moment does help, believe it or not.
Yeah.
Talk about like losing stuff and things like. When you're more in the moment, you just think back, you're like, where did I set the keys? Oh, yeah, I remember setting them down there. And so really, there's some benefits to being in the moment.
Oh, tons of benefits, especially since apparently you have more power there. That's where all your power is to create and manifest is in the moment.
Yeah, that's where your connection is. I like to see it as like sort of the infinity sign,
Uh-huh.
And if you can stay right at that convergence point in the now, that's where the upward line to your higher self is.
Yes. Yes.
So if you're
you have a
infinitely in the
direct line.
future or past, you need to be right on that line,
You're not communicating with your higher self because you're over here or you're over here. And there's no higher self in the past and no higher self yet in the future.
Exactly.
I never thought of that. That's a really good point.
You're like using your imagination. You're in your imagination, basically, because you're imagining what the future is going to be.
Yeah.
You're imagining what the past was or remembering, but it's
It's
now
not
we're
real.
seeing that it's not really real.
It's not really real. And now we're going, did that past ever occur the way I remember it? Is even my memory real?
Yeah.
I can't prove it. I can't prove that what I think happened in the past actually did, especially not in a Mandela affected world.
Yeah, and the thing is, once you start looking at the past, you realize, like, wait a minute, I'm only looking at the past and the now. I'm not really going back to the past.
You're not
I'm looking at a
it in the
book
past.
right now of the past. And has that book been altered and in some impossible way?
Or misinterpreted, maybe somebody's biases and prejudices changed what really happened. So is there ever a true record?
Right. Nothing's in stone.
No, only cuneiform tablets.
Right. But,
That's it.
they can change,
They can change. And what if we didn't really decipher them? What if we think we deciphered them and we got them all wrong? We got the stories all wrong,
Right.
There's no way to prove.
Yeah, I think we get what we're supposed to get.
I think we get what we're supposed to get.
Yeah.
I did a little video, a 2-minute video I was watching an old episode of Project Runway, All Stars, and they went to the Smithsonian Institute and they looked at the flag, not Betsy Ross's, which has the white stripe under the blue box, but they showed the flag that was hand sewn along with the Star Spangled Banner, 1795.
Yeah.
And it has the blue box with 15 stars and 15 stripes resting on the red. So I'm just like, hey guys, it's out there. That's a beautiful piece of residue for all the people who swear up and down that the American flag, the blue box always rested on the red. Now everything you've got historically,
on the white. It's white now, right?
It's on white now.
Right.
And of course you can look online, but you're really trusting Google to give you all the information in the world.
Right.
So when you do find a flag in a museum resting on red, that's one way. Remember in the book you were explaining, that's one way that critics say that's why you're confused, because there's one out there. And we're saying, no, that's good residue. That's showing how it used to be. And everybody, well, not everybody, but loads of us remember it that way.
Yeah, that's the funny thing about residue. It's really a double-edged sword for the people that remember it a certain way and they're sure it was a certain way. They're like, there it is, proof.
Right.
Now I can go show people. They're like, oh, that's why you're confused.
That's why you're confused, because somebody got it wrong in 1795. See, that's why you're confused. Or like that one car in it's not the Kennedy Museum, but it's the Automotive Museum in Illinois. like
Right.
Roscoe, Illinois, or something, and it's got a mock-up of the Lincoln as a four-seater,
Right.
right? But the Lincoln being shown in the Zapruder film is got three levels, a six-seater
Right.
Lincoln.
The little jump seats added in there and the
That's
extra
it.
stretch job. And it was a special car
It
that
was
they
a special
made. You
car.
couldn't buy that car. They specially made it for that for the president, you know?
And then after he was killed in it, presidents ran around in it. They were driven around in it like Nixon and
Yeah.
stuff. That's kind of creepy, but
Yeah.
there you go. But why would they build a mock-up wrong to put into the automotive museum? Why would
Right.
they do it wrong? You
And
know?
why would the Secret Service recreate the event with a four-seater car, you know? So I mean, there's reasons that, you know, and you think of the museum, all the money they pay for that. There's no way they would
Get it
not.
wrong.
Right, right, exactly. Why would they get it wrong?
Why would they get it wrong if they're spending a great deal of time and money on it? Like, sewing that flag, unless, of course, they went, I know, let's be creative and let's change the stripes around and let's put the blue on the red. Like maybe it was done on purpose with thought.
Yeah, and I sent it to Jen's Gems because I know she loves the whole flag thing, and that's not an effect for me because I used to make flags a lot and artwork and things. So for me, it
It's
hasn't
not for
changed.
me.
Oh, it's not an effect for you either.
I remember them both ways. When I look at them both ways, they both look right to me. But I mentioned Jen in the beginning of the 2-minute video. I'm like, this is for Jen's Gems because she's really big on the flag residue.
Well, I was in a restaurant here in Oklahoma, and up on the wall they had this piece of art, and it was the flag on there. And you know, you sit there and think, would an artist really just create the flag and mess it up in this piece of art? You know, and it was really an old piece of art, like a vintage piece of art on the wall, and it looked beautiful. But it had the 50 stars on it. But the blue, what's more of a rectangle on our flag now, was actually more of a square.
More of a square. This
And
one
I kind
too
of
was a
remember it.
square.
I kind of remember it looking like a square. That part is familiar to me,
That
you
me
know.
too.
So it comes down a whole nother stripe's worth, which makes it almost the perfect square in the corner. But you know, my art side of me, I went to school, and you don't have blue and red touch each other because they clash. There's what they call color vibration. So whenever you have
Ah,
a red and a blue complementary colors because they're opposite of each other on the color wheel, they clash and they actually create a vibrating effect on your eyes, and it's
wow.
right. It's not pleasing to look at. So you would always want to stick some white or something between the
Black,
two.
something in between. But
Right?
it's
Yeah.
interesting that red and blue make purple.
Yeah.
And purple is that, royal color, sacred color, and Illuminati color is
Right.
the purple. Don't know why. Remember after Clinton lost, she and her husband Bill came out in purple, matching purple suits and shirts and ties and little, what do you call those things that you stick in your pocket if you're a man? What
Mm.
are, they're like
A
little,
handkerchief.
yeah, little colored hankies. And they did it all in purple, which was interesting because they were representing blue for the Democrats, but they got beat by Trump, which was red. So they wore purple,
Mm.
which a lot of people interpreted at the time as a sign saying, hey guys, we're above this. We're above the red. We're above the blue. We're still in control. Even though we lost, we're
Right.
still in control. We're wearing the purple.
Well, purple also represents royalty, so of course they want to hijack the meaning.
Yeah.
Really, in its original sense of it being a royalty color, because it's the crown. It's the crown chakra, right?
Oh my God, of course, I never thought of that. I
Right.
looked up why is purple so expensive, and what I got was that in the medieval times, you could get red out of clay, and you could get black out of burning things, and you could get yellow out of ochre, whatever that is, maybe a plant or a leaf or something, a tuber. And they said, but purple, you had to send away far, far away for these little clams. And the clams gave them purple, and they were precious. They were so expensive, and they would import them from like the Middle East to the Mediterranean. And by the time, as an artist, you went to get your colors, you just couldn't afford purple. It was just that, only royalty could wear a purple dyed gown.
So they couldn't really mix something like I don't know, red and blue and come up
Yeah, if
with.
they could find a red and a blue, I would think that they would. But I found that a really interesting. Um, uh, I guess maybe they're just talking about dyeing clothes.
Yeah.
about how there were so many limited colors in the medieval times. Limited colors. In fact, peasants got no colors, right? They just got browns and burlaps and whatever the material came in. That's the color they got.
All right. Speaking of right, is Kate right in here?
Yeah, you
Kate's
got something to show us?
Yeah, let me switch this because she actually I don't know why she took so long to send this to me. She was hanging out with Jody and she was like, "You should send that to Shane." I was like, "Yeah, back in
Cool.
November you should have sent it," but I'm just
Oh,
teasing
is
you.
this from their 11/11 Stargate gathering?
Uh,
Maybe.
maybe it was around that time. Okay, I want to show this first because the other one looks it makes it look like the sun,
Yeah, it does look like the sun. Two
but
suns.
okay, so this is one of those. Now, first, let me just say that's a lens flare, the little blue
Okay.
dot from the sun. You know, it's opposite
Yep.
the frame, so we know that's the. But this here is one of those sun dogs, but it's got this weird orange
Yeah.
spot on it.
I've seen sundogs on photographs only,
Yeah,
and they're the same color as the sun. I haven't seen them orange.
right. I wonder if I can. I'm gonna pull up sundog images just to show you guys. They normally just look like a rainbow, sort of. Here, I'll pull this up here. So normally
Yeah.
these are some really extreme ones, but a lot of times you'll just see it. It will look sort of like this. You'll be like, "What's that rainbow spot there?" But you'll notice it's at like either 3 or 9 o'clock of wherever the sun is. But some of them are really extreme, and like some of them will look like this here. But you see, we don't really see any. Wow, this one's pretty extreme, like that
That one's
one.
kind of orange.
Yeah.
I'm not used to seeing them orange. I call those rainbow clouds when I see them up in
All
the
right.
sky. Like that, I'm like, oh, rainbow cloud.
Yep. Here's another one. So these are what they call sundogs, and they're usually at 3 and 9 o'clock. If you can imagine a halo around the sun, like a lot of these actually have, um, they'll be at the 3 and 9 o'clock position.
I caught
You know, with
one
the sun.
once and I got the halo around the sun, and I was like, holy moly. I thought you had to be up north to get these, like where there's ice crystals.
So with this one, you can see the extreme orange in this is just it's just really wild. Do you see that?
That
So
is
she
wild, and it's a funny shape too.
so now that you know that, when I flip to this one, this now you know this isn't the sun. The sun is way over here. This is what it looked like when she took a video of it. Now it's like
Oh,
less
cool.
than a second long, but it's she was just I guess showing that it was a solid. You know, it wasn't changing over time.
Plus, it's kind of weird because it's got the yellow around the orange around the yellow.
Yeah, that's super bright, isn't it?
Yeah,
That is really cool though.
that is super cool.
Never seen that. It almost looks like Nibiru or something. You
Yeah,
know?
it does. And I would ask Dead GPK because, or Mike from My Skies 5D, because they've got their eyes on the sky constantly. So they might have come across this before, where the sundogs are a different color.
Mm-hmm. But it does look like they were spraying heavily that day too, which usually creates a lot of weird stuff like that.
Yeah,
And
very
usually it's
metallic and shiny.
when the sun goes down is when you'll usually get bright oranges and stuff. But this is just one spot right on the sundog. It's just
Yeah,
interesting.
that does look like, oh my God, look, guys, Nibiru.
Right.
Nibiru's out.
It's coming finally
It's coming.
after 8
Although
years of waiting.
a lot of people are saying that Nibiru is really Nemesis, our binary twin sun,
Right.
not bright. So it might turn up orange too. Who knows? I don't know what a binary twin sun looks like, a brown dwarf, when it gets close.
Yeah. I have no idea
Maybe
either.
it looks like that orange ball.
Right. But you know, it wouldn't have been showing up so well if it was that cloudy. You know, so
Yeah,
whatever it was in the clouds.
cool. And it's not
Okay.
something you catch all the time. Yeah, I got pictures for you guys too. It's show and tell night.
Yeah, this is cool.
We love show and tell. Okay, so I'm going over now. Here we go. Share screen. I just like to talk myself through it. I'm sorry you guys have to listen to that every time. Okay, look how fast I did it. Am I up?
You're a pro. Yeah.
Woo! Okay, so this is from a great YouTube channel called Ancient Architects, and I know a lot of you guys listen to it already because it pops up in your emails. You might mention something from that channel. I think it's the video he put out tonight, and I'm going to show you some pictures of the 4 pyramids on the Giza Plateau. How cool is that? Remember, each pyramid has four sides. Actually, I have a pyramid from Egypt sitting over there, which shows how the four sides work. I can bring that up to the
Actually,
camera.
they have 8 sides, right?
Well, they have five because the base is a side. So they
Oh,
have
right,
four
right.
sides poking out.
But each side is also split.
Oh,
When the sun hits it, you can kind of
yeah.
tell that it's got a line going down the middle. Have you ever noticed that?
I think you're right. Actually, they have eight sides because there's a split down the middle, which shows that there's some kind of a break in the middle,
But you
right?
can't really tell
No, you can't
till
really
the
tell.
sun catches it a certain way. Then you're like, whoa, it does have
It
each
does
side
have
is.
eight sides.
Yep, yep.
Well, here's the explorer. His name is, where's his name in there? He went out for King Christian the Sixth of Denmark,
Let
and
me
his name,
clarify something really fast.
uh-huh.
So for most of us, we imagine the three pyramids, the
Yep.
big ones, and then by one of them, usually in the pictures, it's the one on the left,
Yep.
and that one has like three really small ones. We're
Three
not
little
talking about
ones.
those, right? We're talking about
No.
another big one that used to be there, correct?
Yeah, a big one at the bottom of the line, which
Mm-hmm.
is kind of a curve. It's not a straight line, which is why they say it matches up with Orion's belt.
Mm-hmm.
So at the bottom of that little pyramid, you would go out another few hundred feet, and there would be an even smaller pyramid, much bigger than those little ones that you're talking about. It would
Mm-hmm.
be the fourth one in a row. And it was drawn between 1737 and 1738 by an explorer from Denmark named Frederick Ludwig Norden. Okay, now there is one picture coming up first because I didn't get to order them where somebody kind of backs him up. Okay, and that's this one here. This is a very famous picture, and you can see that the pyramids are really shaped wrong. So it's a stylized picture, and they're imagining what the Sphinx's face would have looked like, because that's also a very stylized kind of Greco-Roman nose and picture of the Sphinx that doesn't resemble the Sphinx at all. But the
Of
point
course.
is, that's Giza. The Sphinx is still buried under the ground, and there's four pyramids. Now, of course, they're Nubian pyramids or Russian pyramids, we call those now. Like, I'm going to buy one that you're supposed to sit under that's
Oh, those
not.
have 3 sides. It looks like,
I wonder if that's the difference.
or not counting the base
But
underneath.
here, let's get back to that Ludwig guy. This is what the fourth pyramid was drawn as and described as in his book. It had the outer casing of the same granite blocks that the other three pyramids still have, and in the center was a black cube. Yeah, isn't that interesting? Running down the center of it, and he surmised, or ancient architects surmises, that the cube is there to be like a pedestal.
Mm-hmm.
So there would have been some kind of a statue on top of it. And here's the actual drawings. Nope. Here's where ancient architects thinks. You see the three ones you were talking about?
All right.
So you got one, two. Oh, good. And do you see the little
The three little ones I was talking about are
yeah.
right there.
And do you
Yeah.
see the refractions showing that each side is actually two sides? Do you see that from there?
Oh, yeah. You can see
Yep.
it up there at the top,
Yep.
right there, especially on the big one here.
It almost
Um,
looks bent, doesn't it?
yeah.
So ancient architects. Oh, there it is. See, it says subscribe. You guys will be able to find him on YouTube. He does the most brilliant work. I love it.
Oh, yeah.
And
Down here in the corner, ancient architects.
yep, and
That's right.
that's his circle is where he thinks the fourth pyramid was. But he says at the time in the mid 1700s, there were 16 little pyramids. In fact, I don't know. Can you see my cursor?
Yep.
Look at those. Don't those look like baby pyramids there too?
Yeah. Where's the Sphinx in this? Oh, I
Good
think it's down and to the right from
question.
where your cursor is.
Do you think so? Like right there?
No, like between
Okay.
the you can't see my cursor, but everybody else can. Yeah, right above that. You see how there's the white path and the dark path? I think it's that just a little to the left. It's
Very funny.
because
Are
it
you taking the
faces.
white path or are you taking the dark path?
Yeah, just up and to the left, just a little bit from where you're at there. There's yeah, right there. I think
Okay.
because I know it faces that direction, out to the right.
But yep, I think you're right. And do you see those?
Yeah,
And do you
that's
see these?
strange.
These are the ones that we know about.
Now, didn't they find like a boat or a ship or something? I
Yeah,
thought
they
that was a
found a
Mandela
boat,
effect.
I think, buried right here in front of the big one to transport him to the underworld in a
Had
book.
you heard about that when you lived there?
No, they discovered it after I lived there, and they dug it out and put it in a museum right in front of the big pyramid. And I would have seen it if I when I lived there. They didn't. They didn't have it then, but it was like 10 years later, so maybe the 80s,
Mm-hmm.
because I was there in
But
the.
you do remember it in the 80s then? It's not a Mandela effect like that,
Nope, I
just.
remember it in the 80s that they found it, they dug it out, and they put it on display there. It was huge. Looked like a little,
Really?
actually a Viking ship. So he thinks that the fourth pyramid was there, but he also reports in the 1737s in
Mm-hmm.
his book that there were 16 little pyramids around Giza, and they're all gone. You can see, and ancient architects guesses that they were stolen and used to build temples and buildings in Cairo. So here's another one. That's his actual drawing.
Still look a little pointy though, don't they?
Don't they look a little pointy? And
Not as
don't they
bad
look
as
a
that
little
first one,
off?
but
Don't they look a little skinny or something?
yeah.
And look, no sphinx sticking out unless that's here, because it wouldn't have been unburied in the mid 1700s, would it? 1730s.
I think it would be over where you see
Over
those.
there?
Yeah, I think right in there is where it would be, somewhere over there. Or maybe even a little further out of view.
And you can see it's kind of off. It's not in a direct row. So this kind of curves like this. And then that goes off a little bit in its own little direction,
Mm-hmm.
which kind of ruins the Orion theory if there
Can you
was
go
a.
back one and. Because didn't it actually curve the other direction?
Well, here's the original drawing
Oh,
by
okay.
the guy. And
Oh,
so
okay.
he did try to show four sides, one, two, three, four.
Uh huh.
And then this kind of curves a little bit. And then, boom, this one's
Yeah.
off.
Okay, so he was actually saying that they've built something in place of that, correct?
Yeah, what he said, the ancient architects, was that
I don't mean to get
another.
ahead of you.
Mhm. No, that's okay. Another writer wrote that in the historical record, there was a extreme religious sect that came through and dismantled it and brought it into Cairo to build their lodge, and that they were Scottish in 1790. So this guy's drawing this in 1737 and 1738. And in 1790, in the historical record, somebody wrote that these guys came and they must have been pretty powerful, or, you just go out there and dismantle a pyramid. And they just took it down and they brought it into Cairo to build their lodge. And I find it coincidental that the United States was founded by the Scottish Freemasons, who were related to the Knights Templars, who supposedly stole all that. It's not just a movie. They supposedly, historically, stole all the gold out of Solomon's um, Temple Mount.
So the conspiracy theorist in me wonders if there's some sort of underground complex. I know in the Emerald Tablets of Thoth, he talks about
Mm-hmm.
an entrance to the halls of Amenti underneath the Great Pyramid or something along those
And
lines.
like the Akashic Record, the halls from what's his name, Sherry's favorite, Edgar Casey, the Sleeping Prophet, under the
Mm-hmm.
Sphinx.
Right. So if there's some huge underground complex and it's all connected, I can see them dismantling one of them, putting their lodge or whatever on top of it, and gaining access to all of that part that they say, hey, we don't want to dig this up. There is something under there, but we don't want to ruin this stuff to
That's
get
okay.
to it. But maybe they've already gotten to it from the access of the smaller pyramid over there.
And what was reported is that they actually dismantled it, took the bricks into Cairo and built a lodge in Cairo as opposed to building a lodge out at Giza. But I like your idea that they're getting into the underground tunnels, the underground networks. And they might have entered through there. And why would it have a black cube through the middle? And why would subsequently the black cube become such a big deal in terms of Illuminati folklore, right?
Yeah, exactly. And it also makes
Computer.
yeah, it also makes me wonder about because they used to be completely covered with like granite or something, right? Like they used to have a
I've read
granite face to it.
granite, I've read alabaster, and I've read tipped with gold.
Oh,
Can you
so
imagine tipped
it
with
was something expensive for them to get in there and completely deface them, and just to because some people say it was just a capstone, and
gold in the
others
whole
say that
pyramid,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
So why are we being taught again? it's another false history because I lived there. And today, this is all news to me. So I got to throw it out there, guys. Is it just that I never came across the information that actually there were four pyramids? Was that information hidden? Or is it a Mandela effect? Am I in another reality now where there used to be four instead of three? But when I was living there, there were only ever three.
Oh, Alva in the chat is reminding me that in her BQH session, she saw four pyramids.
Are you serious, Alva?
Yeah. How interesting
I
is
got
that?
the chills. That's super cool that she actually saw four because I'm sure she was thinking afterwards, what was I thinking? There were only three. And
Right.
now, Alva,
Here's your confirmation.
you've got your confirmation here that originally there were four, unless this is a Mandela effect and we've jumped into a slightly different version of Egypt.
I say you would be the person that I know that would know best since you actually lived over there, you know?
From late teens to early 20s. And I
Hmm.
was driving over there and sitting on the pyramids. You could just plunk yourself down on one and meditate or whatever. And I was in the Cairo Museum like every week. And I also read up on Egyptology and studied archaeology at university because I thought I wanted to be an archaeologist. Never, ever, ever, ever a mention or a drawing or a picture of a fourth pyramid. It's like it's been kept secret or the
Yeah.
Mandela effect, one or the other.
Hmm.
What do you think it is? Which one? We'll never know.
Yeah. I can't say for sure either way, you know?
No.
I'm real careful about, feeling like that. Let me switch my camera.
There we go.
I'm careful about what I stick into my 100% pile, you know what I mean?
Yeah, like
Just,
you've got the thinker in there. I've got Luke, I Am Your Father, Volkswagen, and Nelson Mandela. Those are my three 100%. But everything else, I'm like, I don't know. I can't be certain that it just wasn't information that only a few knew. A few privileged people knew that there was a fourth pyramid that was secreted away.
right. And then I actually have Mandela effects. I think this would be a good time to bring it up because the chat's here and we can see if anybody else remembers like me. Because I was surprised I mentioned this to Sherry and she was like, oh my gosh, that's how I remember it too. Okay. So the going thought now is that Febreze went from Febreeze, as in Feb breeze, spelled like we spell breeze, and one of the E's left the end of it. So it's not breeze anymore, it's Breze. Right?
Febreze.
Right. So when I was talking to her about it, I'm like, I've got Mandela effects that don't agree with everyone. Like because in my mind, I remembered it being FAB, as in fabric, as in fabric.
Fabric.
Because I remember thinking it was fabric spray, smelly good fabric spray, and
That
it was
makes sense.
Fab Breeze, and it was sort of the double entendre of something's fabulous, fab, or whatever. So
And
I
breathe.
remembered it as Fab Breeze, Febreze.
That
You know
makes
what I mean?
total sense.
And I remember thinking, oh, how clever that is. Just like with Looney Tunes, I thought, oh, clever, you know.
Clever.
And that's another one with Looney Tunes. I don't remember it being Ney. I remember it being Ny, and I can't find anybody that remembers it just being Loony tunes. Toons.
I don't know. Now that you say it, it sounds familiar.
All right.
It's easier to imagine now. It's like double memories. And I
Yeah.
have a bigger memory of Looney Tunes because I grew up watching them literally every
Yeah.
Saturday morning.
Me
But
too.
I
Yep.
did not use Febreze because my mom was like, you do not use that fabric stuff because it's bad for your lungs. And
That fabric stuff. See,
yeah,
right there.
it sticks to fabric and it's made of a chemical powder. It's not even made of the plant and the scents that they're faking.
Mm.
So she was like, get some essential oil, squirt, squirt. Here's some, lavender,
Right.
geranium. So she was all in natural. So I never had a bottle of Febreze.
Karen remembers. Awesome. I was surprised Sherry remembers. She goes, "Oh my gosh, it's not FAB." And I'm like, "No." And I think everybody focuses on because it was one of those A's that looked like an reversed upside down E.
Yeah.
So it kind of looked. It didn't look like an A. I mean, it was the sort of strange font A that we
Yep.
don't write like handwriting A. It was lowercase, but Morgan remembers it. Okay, that's
Okay.
awesome
Now
because
you've got that's a new or a twist on it. That's a twist on the Mandela effect version because nobody's been talking about FAB.
right, you just see the ending of it and you like kind of freak out and you focus on that, but in essence, I remember when I was like, well, what is that stuff? Oh, it's just to spray on different fabric for
Yeah.
smell. And I was like, oh, fabric
Fabric,
breeze. And,
breeze.
and I just sort of, I have that anchor memory of what it is and the name kind of telling what it is and it making sense. And so when everybody was talking about, I'm like, well, what about the beginning? And everybody I mentioned it to would say, no, it's always been FEB. And I'm like, well, I don't know. I remember it being FAB, REEZE.
That's cool.
Fabric breeze, fab
Do
breeze.
you wonder if we could do this with every single thing? Is it possible that every single thing in historical record we could have slightly different memories on if we really stretch?
Absolutely. Yeah, and I'm
And this
finding that
whole
to,
construct of reality that we're in is all based on collective memory. We agree. We
right,
agree that that's how something was and is spelled. And, there's only ever been three pyramids, not four. And it's always been fe, breeze with an E,
right.
which would mean reality is very unreal. Very, very unreal.
Yeah. And it's almost like there's just a consensus reality that we all agree on.
For sanity, so that we feel safe and we feel like,
Right?
oh, he sees the same thing I do. Right?
Exactly. So when something doesn't match, it's like, hey, get on board. We've changed it. Sorry. You know?
Yeah, and we're all, what are we, the cogs in the wheel, the virus in the program going, we're not getting on board. We don't remember it that way. We're going
Right.
to stick to our guns and remember, and we're going to stick to how we remember it. So, in a way, we are the virus in the program.
Well, let me ask you this. I mean, okay, so for some people, when they hear about what, I'm going to go into a topic like something that's hard to believe. Okay, so like at the very top, that there's this shadow government, right? And all of this stuff's going on. And
Mhm.
can the disbelief of people actually combined with the people that know it's happening but decide we don't want this, so we're going to make it as if it's not happening either, join in with those who don't believe it's happening, that's not their reality, because they just can't fathom that people can be such monsters, right? It's just, 'cause,
I
they
think,
can't
yeah,
wrap their head around it.
I
Can we
think, yeah.
join power with them and actually use that to our benefit, that they're in such disbelief about some of these things that go
I
on?
think yes, and I think what you're describing is all predictive programming and how it works. They put something out on a TV show, and that's so we see the Twin Towers falling down in a movie from the 80s, a B movie, and we're like, oh my God, that's so incredible. That could never happen. See,
Yeah.
it's like maybe that's how predictive programming works. So if we start using it and we start thinking, well, who's out there who doesn't believe what's really going on, and we don't want what's really going on to happen, so we'll join with them and negate it by not believing it's going on, and together we'll have majority rules, so it won't go on, it won't happen.
All right.
Right? But isn't it hard to not believe something that is happening? That's the hard bit, is to suddenly stop believing it.
It's just having the faith, and I think, once we see things happening on a smaller scale, like what Cynthia Sue Larson talks about, like walking around her vehicle and then the tire that she knew was flat is suddenly inflated to the proper PSI, where the other three are actually kind of low. When her husband goes and checks it, it was like that one was perfect, you
Perfect. The
know?
only one that was perfect.
So
After
we
she
start
sat there
small.
saying, I'm not going to have a flat tire. I have an appointment. I cannot have a flat tire right now, so I don't have one. I do not have a flat tire. Gets out, kicks it. It's not flat.
Right? But still in disbelief for her to ask her husband to, can you check the tires, and just, all of them were a little low except for one. Let me guess, the front right.
Yeah, the one that's supposedly flat, right? So is it easier to negate information from this field of the matrix, or is it easier to add information to this field? What is the easier move, to take something away or to put something into it based on majority rules?
Well, let's think of the Volkswagen logo, for instance. Okay, so I was impartial to it changing. I was okay with it changing. In fact, if I did have a vote in it, I would have voted to change it to what it is.
It's
But I didn't
perfect,
know,
isn't it?
because I didn't know it was a V and a W until the line was added.
And you're like,
But
oh,
you knew. You drove one. You were like, man, it needs a line there.
I've
And
got the
it's
steering wheel, and I'm like, I can't see the V and the W. They need a line in there somewhere.
right. So I think it's probably easier to shift something if there's people that are, they don't have a vote in it, or they would, if they knew, would vote to change something the way
So
you
what did we
change it.
do? Did we add the brake, or did we take away the existing material?
I don't know. Good question.
I've seen other people say that they're responsible for that one too because they were driving Volkswagens going, I don't like this logo. I need to see the V and I need to see the W. So all of us who had Volkswagens who ever thought, oh yeah, they need to change the logo,
Yeah,
feel like that's my Mandela effect because we did it.
right. That's
And
interesting.
how many does it take? Because 100th Monkey is somebody keeps saying 7%, over 7%, which is interesting because that's also the Schumann resonance, 7.83, right?
Yeah.
So we need more than 7% of people to believe something in order for it to become a reality. I would have guessed like 51%, like you need the majority of humans to believe something before it pops into being.
You would think that, but I think that then we get into like what I was just saying with the Volkswagen logo. I didn't have a vote. I didn't.
You didn't have a vote.
So it's kind of like I don't count one way or the other. I'm not holding it back.
You're not holding
I'm
it
not
back.
pushing it
You're
forward.
not pushing it
I'm
forward.
just sort of there
You're
observing it.
neutral.
I'm neutral.
You're sitting on your fence going, oh, let's see what happens. But then what about the
Exactly.
things I'm neutral about? And other people who are somehow they have an opinion, they're changing it, but I'm totally neutral about it. Like maybe the thinker statue. I had no opinion of the thinker statue. I'd never drawn it. I'd seen it. I didn't have an emotional attachment to it. You had it in your bedroom. You sketched it as a kid. You had a connection to that change,
Right.
but I didn't.
So how did that change? Because we've got people. You've got the workout pose. You've got people posing around it doing it. You've got there was even an FBI manual on interrogation wherein it was like if the person does the thinker pose and blah blah blah. But they use that fist to the forehead
Yep.
example. Yet that's not how it is anymore. So I
Well,
don't know.
I do have a theory, but I could be wrong. Is it enough people misremembering it as Atlas? But Atlas holds it like this. He doesn't hold it like this. I don't know. At what point do people start remembering the thinker statue? Oh, yeah, I know that statue. He's got his fist to his mouth. At least enough would have to remember it that way in order for it to flip.
Right.
And why would they think that when it's so obvious that he's thinking and he's putting his fist on his third eye? He's using his brain, his noggin.
Right. But then that gets into the revelations of truth that we see in it. He's now twisted completely to his left
Yeah.
side. It's
He's
a
very
revealing how
uncomfortable.
we're twisted. Yeah.
You and I tried to do it, remember? You go on, try to do it. And I'm like, I couldn't. It was so
Could you
uncomfortable.
sit that way while somebody's
No,
sculpting you? I
no.
certainly couldn't.
You could
You
hold
know,
it for a few seconds and then, your back is wrenched and your elbows all the way over on the wrong side of your body.
you sure wouldn't be thinking about anything except for I need to get out of this position.
Discomfort. Yeah. Oh
Yeah.
my God, I'm going to be stuck in this position forever. So I don't know, but I'm still thinking that maybe this is how reality works in a material matrix. It's popping all the time, in, out, changing, shifting, changing, shifting. And then as a species, we just never notice the changes.
Right.
They would happen around us and we'd go, oh, yeah, it's always been that way. Oh, yeah, that's always been that way too. We had this mechanism that kept us blind. We had blinders on to the changes.
And of course, I had someone leave me a comment because that was one of my first Mandela Effect videos, freaking out about the thinker or whatever.
Yes, I remember.
And they watched it way later, and they're like, "You're saying it's under the chin, and it's really to his mouth. And if you're not sure about it now, how can you be sure about it before?" I'm like, "To the mouth? What are you talking about?" And then I go look,
And you went, it's on the mouth now.
it's on the
Because
mouth
before
now.
it was here, and that was
He's
wrong.
sucking on his knuckles
This
now.
is more wrong.
Yeah, he's eating a knuckle sandwich.
It's
Another
getting
revelation of
wronger
truth.
and wronger and wronger. And I don't even think that's a word. Well,
Excellent.
I don't know. I just respect I just respect everybody's Mandela effects. I don't even
Yeah, me too.
go there and I never doubt them. I'm like, okay, yeah, could be, could be.
Yeah, yeah. It took me a while to learn that too.
Yeah.
You know.
Maybe not for me. I don't remember it that way, but that means nothing anymore. That no longer means that those people are wrong, And how
Oh
nice is
yeah.
that to get to the point where your memories and your thoughts and your beliefs no longer dictate to you whether other people are right or whether they're wrong. You can accept both versions.
Yeah. or you might end up having something jog your memory, like I did with the whole McDonald's thing.
Yeah.
I thought, oh, they're just reaching and coming up with Mandela effects out of anything, and then sure enough, it popped in my head one day.
That
I just remembered it and had the nostalgia with it. And I'm like,
after
oh man,
church, you had a whole history, a whole story
yeah,
with that.
yeah,
Don't you think that when we have the story tied to something, that's when we're 100% sure? That's when we
exactly,
know it's changed because we have a memory, a root. What did you
yeah.
call it? It's
A
for,
memory note, yeah.
yeah.
But see, some things even go beyond memory. It's not like you memorize eye color or the year you were born. You might forget what age you are, but because it changes every year, you might have to think about it or do the math, but you're not going to forget the year you were born. It's not like you have to remember that. It's just just like the eye color or your hair color or whatever it is, that anything that you've just known for so long. And that's how it was with the thinker for me. It wasn't, I
Meant
had
something
to,
to you. It was a part of your childhood. It was a part of your childhood bedroom. There's
yeah,
nothing more personal than that because that childhood bedroom, I can like look at every inch of my childhood bedroom and know exactly what was where because that
yeah.
was my universe. That was my world. I spent my time in there. That was my private world.
And that really freaked me out because when I saw the new Thinker, I'm like, oh, that's interesting. Somebody created a new version of it. I
Uh,
never doubted the first one. And never in my mind did I think I
Never
would get
thought the
on,
first one changed.
yeah, never thought I could get on Google, search for the Thinker, and not see the one I grew up with, right? So when I did that, I'm like, mine was
That's upsetting.
blown.
I remember Dead GPK talking about how he felt about the Ford logo changing because he had Fords. And it's like, you're really upset when something is one way, and now you look and you find out it was never that way. Where you are
Right.
now, it was never that way, which either means you've gone into someplace new or it has changed around you. We might be standing completely in one place and this whole shifty universe is just shifting around us. Like
Yeah.
those rides at Epcot where, rooms fly by and there's a whole new room, but you really haven't moved. There's a conveyor belt of rooms going around you
Yeah.
that give you the feeling like you're moving, but you're not moving.
That's how virtual reality works too. Though you'll be in the square basically, maybe the size of a room, with this apparatus on, and as you're moving through it, it gives you the illusion that you're moving all throughout this big complex, but you're really
Doors,
just moving in this,
buildings.
you know,
So do
gives
you
you
have
this
to have a
illusion.
conveyor belt to walk on as you're walking through virtual reality? Does the floor have to move for you so you can take steps?
No, it's just a big, almost like a boxing ring that you're moving around in, but it gives you the illusion as you move through this door, you open up into this big setting, and you can see over there, but you just don't go over there. You walk down this little path and go in here, and it doesn't go back to where you were, even though in real space you are going back to where you were,
It
you know.
sounds like reality. If you
Yeah, and
just
it feels like
in
reality.
reality, like we always said, and a lot of people have said, not it's not just our idea, that we're the receivers, we're the radio receivers, and we're just picking up different stations. So we see things differently, and we think that the we have jumped into something new. We have moved into something new. We're just standing there like a radio receiver, picking up different stations all around the matrix.
Yeah,
We don't have to move anywhere. We just have to see differently. We have to see further or see shallower, not see so far.
right.
Yeah, I love that. I love, because at first I was like, oh my God, I should be, all this timeline jumping. But maybe we're not timeline jumping.
Dead GPK, were you here in the beginning? Have you ever seen? Let me show Dead GPK this really fast. See if you've seen one
I'm
of these.
wondering if you've ever seen a sundog like this. Your ears were burning. You were probably lurking and we kept talking about you
Kate sent this to me.
from their November 11/11 port.
Well, she just said it was taken in the beginning of November. I'm not sure if it was from the actual event or not. But have you seen a sundog with a red or an orange spot on it like this? Or anyone that's joining in later? Because now you can see the sun's here. This is of course a lens flare, but it just looks. I don't know. We were talking about it. It looks sort of like Nibiru or something coming through.
Looks like a little orange planet, doesn't it? It looks so
Yeah.
around and it's so orange.
It's amazing. And it doesn't even really look like rain. Normally it's kind of rainbow looking. You've got the
More,
brighter yellowish color with this spot of orange on it. Just strange.
I
Yeah.
haven't seen um, anything like that on your videos, Dead, but I mean, I haven't seen 100% of them. I see most of them. Or Mike's. I haven't seen that on Mike's either. My Sky's 5D.
Oh, I forgot to share my
Or
screen with you. Sorry about that.
chemtrails or geospatial sky. We have so many sky watchers. Try to catch their videos.
Hello, Frank and Feisty Kitty and everybody. Welcome.
Hey guys. Hey gang.
Yeah. Hey, gang.
Hey, you said gang.
Oh, yeah. That's a good point, Dustin. He says, I think we wake up in a different dimension thousands of times every second. And I view it almost like a soup of consciousness, of memories and experiences. And
A C. Hey Dustin, I'm still got to go find that link you told me about because YouTube held it. I got to go find it. I'll find it. Yeah, I see the sea too. I feel the sea of us bobbing along in our little reality bubbles. And then I'm like, ooh, I'm being attracted to the reality bubbles over there. So I tend to go there because we're kind of focusing on the same things. And then you outgrow that group and you move away and you join other reality bubbles.
well, the only reason I say a C is because it's like almost like you can't find anyone that completely agrees. That's what I was talking to Eva from Once Upon a Timeline. There will always be one thing, like Fruit Loops is always, that might be the only thing that's different than somebody, but you can't. So it's not like we came from, you can say, oh, you're from my dimension. We completely match across the board. I mean,
Nobody
there's
does. Nobody
no one
completely
does,
matches across the board.
which leads you to believe that our perceptions about things, it's just all happening within, and it's like we're just as unique as a fingerprint within our
Okay,
consciousness.
so our realities are as unique as our fingerprint, and no two
Yeah.
people ever have the same fingerprint in the past, present, or future. And
So
that's
that's
our
interesting.
realities are that unique as well because we're inventing them as we go along. We're projecting them. When you look at how the eye works,
Yeah.
the vision comes in upside down as an energy, as a vibration and hearing, and it gets flipped upside with by the brain and gets projected back out right side up. We're like walking projectors. We're reality projectors. And
Yeah, and everything really happens in our mind if you think about it.
our
We've got these
heart
instruments
focused. Yeah.
that receive your eyes receive photons, your ears receive vibrations within, the air, and then your brain turns it into sound, and your eyes, your brain turns these photons that's flying in your eyes
Into images.
into images, which
Okay.
is
So
amazing.
now you've put me on like another thought on the Mandela effect. Could it be a change in ocular perception of photons? Is the Mandela effect change really us seeing something differently with the photonic projection of reality into the brain? Do we have slightly different ocular vision?
Right, and our brain takes shortcuts. So I've been walking through the store and glance over at the Febreze, as we were talking, the Febreze logo, and look away, and I'm like, oh my god, it was right. And then I look back, and it's not. It's
Did you
my
feel
brain.
right for a second? Were you
I don't know.
overwriting that correctness onto it?
I'm on the fence about it. Did it happen in my brain? Did my brain just pull up the old file like we do when we go to a website? It doesn't have to download the Google logo again. It's stored in the brain, so it just shows.
It happened to me once, Grand Central Station. I was on my little phone and on Google searching through DuckDuckGo, but it's still a Google platform. And I was searching for residue of Grand Central Station, and I found it. And I found it on a website offering tours of Grand Central Station. And I clicked the website on my phone, and for like half a second, it said Grand Central Station tours, and then it went blink, and it said Grand Central Terminal tours. And I'm like, yeah, flipping heck. I felt like it was AI just changed it in front of my eyes because for almost a second it was correct.
Yeah,
And I saw it blink out. Have you seen things blink out?
yeah.
I'm like, yeah, that's like catching a Mandela effect in action.
Yeah, we got what was it? Me and Suso and I at the conference. There was a word that Christopher Anatra used, and oh gosh, I can't remember the word, but he had it in his presentation, and then Suso, that was one of his questions. He's like, was that spelt like that before, or like, So then I actually did voice into the Google, and I said it. It showed it right. Suso saw it too. We saw it right. It showed it right for a split second,
And
and then
then,
changed to the new spelling.
oh my God. So is that the Mandela effect at work, or is that
I don't
AI
know.
at
I
work?
don't
Is
know.
that Google catching the residue and changing it, going, oh, there's residue, change it?
I don't know.
We'll never know.
If it's the system doing it, I don't think it's like AI trying to hide it as much as it was residue and it self corrected. Not in a nefarious way.
Okay.
It was just, it had it in there the way it used to be. I accessed it, it corrected itself. It's like, oh, this needs to
Okay.
be
You
corrected.
accessed it, and that goes against the quantum physics observer effect, which is the observer effect changes it from its possible states, superposition of potentiality, and locks it into one. Well, you had an idea of what it should be, you observed it as it should be, and then the matrix went, we're not letting you observe it that way. We're going to put it the way it is now. So you're like, it's like working against your observer effect.
Right, but if it had been, which I'm sure it had, somebody had looked it up previously, it would be in the system the way it was at that time, right?
Both ways.
Well, then the old way, and then here I am. I come along and it pulls it up. It's like, oh, we've pulled this up for 2 million people before. Here you go. Wait a minute, this is not correct. Let me repair that for you. There you go. I think it's
I don't
more like that
know if that's
than it is like, oh
AI
my gosh, it changed.
the Matrix doing it.
Right.
The way I would know that it's not AI doing it is if we had something physical
Suso's not here, is he? I really wouldn't. Yeah,
in our
exactly.
hands and it said, like that fake Berenstein Bear video that everybody's like, wow, it was fake. I don't know if you ever saw that one, but it was kind of cool the way he did it.
Yeah.
And one, you look at it and you go, oh my God, I'm in a bookstore. I'm in a used bookstore. It's Berenstein Bears the way it's supposed to be. And you're like, as soon as you look at it, within a second, it changes back to the
Yeah.
way it is now. And you're like, no point buying it now because it's not residue anymore.
Well, at
Now,
least it happened before you bought it, though, right?
if it was something physical, there's no way that AI could interfere with it and change it.
Like the Febreze.
Like the Febreze.
It
That
was in the.
change
I
the
was in
scale.
the store and I looked over and I was like, "Oh my gosh!" And looked back, did a little double take, and when I looked back, it was fixed. Now, I'm not the only one because Metal Rabbit. I haven't seen her in a little bit, but
Yep.
she said the same thing. She said, "I looked at the Febreze. It was the original way. I pull out my smartphone to take a picture to send you. It's the new way." So,
Oh my God. So that's cool. When it happens in matter, you can't say AI is out there changing matter.
but it still could be the Matrix,
Yeah, the smart matrix, like our smartphone and
right?
our smart AI. Maybe we have a smart thinking matrix around us that's
Yeah,
alive and thinking.
right. And I actually feel like that. I feel like if you're in this consciousness reality simulation and all of the adversaries that we face that's supposed to, purge whatever out of us, teach us lessons and make this a real experience, just like a game that we'll create. You're going to create this game engine that's
It's
going to
going to be
bring the
smart.
bad guys to you. It's going to test you. It's going to bring obstacles in your way. It's all on purpose. It's not something's out. I mean, something is out to get you. You can look at it that way. You can play Pac-Man. You're like, oh my gosh, these ghosts are out to get me. You can have that view of it, but you can also have the view of they're doing their job. They're just doing what they were programmed to do. So you can put a personality to the ghost. You can see them as being alive and evil if you want, but at the end of the day, if it's this simulation we're in that's supposed to be like a classroom to learn things, then at the same time that you're adding this evilness to this, it's just doing what it's programmed to do. It's not the ghost and Pac-Man aren't evil.
And
They're
they're not
just doing
random. They're not
no,
just making themselves up in it. Like we've always thought this matrix around us, matter, was random and did itself, created itself. Even though we believe in God, a creator, we see nature just creating itself, like creating lava.
right,
But what you're describing proves the programmer. is in the matrix.
Right.
Everything around us was programmed. It was put there. It didn't just happen willy-nilly.
Right. I don't believe that there's any accidents or any randomness at all. You know what I mean? Like in the sense of flipping a coin or anything that you think is random, it's nothing's random. And I think it's hackable, you know,
And we could be the
with our
programmers. It
consciousness.
could be God, could be the programmer of the simulation, the virtual
Hmm.
reality here, or it could be us. We could
Right.
be, our higher selves could be programming for our lower selves.
Exactly.
That's going to be hard to prove. That's like the next step. If we get to the point where we know that this is a simulation of some sort and it is a program, then the next question is going to be, who wrote the program?
Right.
Where's it coming from? Who wrote it? You know,
Hmm.
fascinating stuff.
But when you think of it like that, you can also see how no matter what view you take, it's all true. It's just you're taking a different perspective of it. So if you feel like we're in this prison and we're trapped in this prison matrix and we're being recycled over and over again in the reincarnation program and all this, that's a very valid view. But that's not much different than saying these ghosts are going to destroy me in Pac-Man while I'm moving around if I encounter them. They're and as soon as I eat all the pellets on this, it's going to change to a new shaped map, and I'm going to have to do it again, and I can sort of get feel stuck in the game, right?
Yeah, like you feel like when you're playing Mario Brothers, you get stuck on a level. It becomes
Exactly.
very frustrating when you're playing and you keep dying on the level and you have to start over. You're like, oh my God, I got three-quarters of the way through it. Come on, get to the end. So I think that kind of sums up the light worker frustration, where people are like, come on, event, come on, solar flare. They're getting frustrated.
Yeah.
Want to get to the end.
And it's a catch-22 because the more frustrated you get, the more it's like quicksand. So it's like you just pull yourself down into this lower vibe and lessen your chances of getting out, so to speak.
In a
You
way,
know what I mean?
the more anxious you are to get out, the less likely you're going to get out quickly. That is very interesting because it's a low vibe feeling. So the best thing you could do if you want to get out quickly is just go take your time. World, I am here. I'm enjoying the journey. I'm enjoying the moment. I'm making the most of everything. And when it happens, I'm ready. That's got to be the quickest way to get out, which is ironic. It's the opposite. It's always the opposite of what you think.
What's wrong is right. So you see how it's like, it's so funny because it's like by the time you finally get out, it's like you're okay with not getting out. That's
Which is
the,
how I am and you are now. But a
right,
couple of years ago, I was not okay that way, and you were not okay that way. We're like,
right.
I couldn't wait for a solar flare. I wanted an asteroid. I was like, come on,
And
boom.
I still have my days, but or moments, I should say. I'm not usually stuck in it for days, but yeah, sometimes it's like, just this last video I was doing, it was like stuff kept popping up. And I'm like, I finally got to the point where I just laughed about it though, where things kept going wrong and things kept popping up and kept getting delayed. And I finally was like, okay, all right. And as soon as I surrendered to it, I was able to move on and complete it. And
Yeah,
I realized that, it was just another test.
the surrender is so important because as soon as you don't resist, it can't resist. It has nothing to push against. So it just passes through. It's over.
Yeah.
That is a really important thing. And the other thing about God, if I say we might be making this matrix and projecting it from our higher self for our lower selves to experience in order to grow and learn or whatever, maybe just
Yeah.
for fun,
Right.
whatever, that doesn't negate God because
Mm-mm.
you have to say who made the higher selves.
Right.
Perhaps God, source energy, made a higher self, and perhaps the higher self is projecting this virtual reality for its lower self. You never ever completely negate anything. There's never a clear answer.
No. And as soon as you remove the lack of time, the lack of this and that, then you can see how, we could all be the same God living things out in an eternity of time. We could be living things out from each person's perspective. One single entity known as God decided to branch off and forget himself for a moment and to just
That's
experience
scary.
one another. You know what I mean? And that's why I like Alan Watts' view of the whole
Yeah,
thing.
that isn't
And
that I've heard that theory quite a bit, or that God is dreaming.
right,
God fell asleep, and that's kind of a Vishnu side, a Hindu side, and had a dream. And the
yeah,
dream is us in this
yeah,
reality.
yeah.
I love it.
And and when you think of it, the way he said it is, he probably played the game without forgetting and all of that first, and then said, you know what, it'd be fun to forget who you are, and you just get to the point of where we're at right now. You know what I mean? Just completely forgetting the power and everything that
And the
we have.
source
And
of everything, and the mechanics of everything, and the source of everything, and the reason for everything. You know, if you can just enjoy the show and enjoy the journey, I just think that is, for me, the only way to approach this now, is not
yeah,
even worry about who's doing it, what's doing it, and why.
yeah, exactly.
Because a lot of people get very upset that they can't get the answer, and then they're like, oh my God, why am I here? I can't get the answer. And maybe that's the point. Can the universe be conscious of itself through humanity and other kinds of beings like us in different places? And if so, how are they going to deal with that? How do they cope with not knowing the whole story? So I don't know.
Yeah, Dustin's saying to let go of anger and fear. And that's really the opposite of love, isn't it?
Yep, completely. Well, I did want to point out tonight, before we do an intention, I was going to do an intention for Ronnie. It's not for Ronnie, but it's based on some of her communications.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I think I told her that we would probably do it tonight, because we put it off from last week because we wanted to do something last week. Um, the Stephen Greer group,
Mm-hmm.
which is called, I think, CE5. Does that sound right, guys? I know there's a 5 in it. Close Encounters of the Fifth Kind. Okay. He's classified Close Encounters of the Fifth Kind. It might be based on Hynek, classifications with Project Blue Book. Um, and that's when you invite contact with safe, benevolent, loving, higher beings.
Mm-hmm.
And tonight is one of those nights worldwide where followers of Stephen Greer and members of the CE5 group, which you are, if you say you are, then you are. You're an ambassador for planet Earth if you just say I am, and that's the whole membership is willingly participating, is to go out tonight in your time zone between 9 p.m. It's 9:18 by me now, so I'm in the time zone, and midnight, all around the world. Look at the stars if you can see them. Look at the clouds if you can't see the stars. And if you wish, invite benevolent alien relationship and interaction. It's basically, they're saying, we're going to tell them we're ready. We're not going to wait for the government to go, hey guys, we're ready for benevolent interaction, which means they help us, we help them. It's like, hi guys, we're neighbors, we're friends, we'll all get along. They don't have to save us, they don't have to help us, they don't have to do anything. So I don't know how you guys feel about that. I'm quite cool with inviting benevolent interaction with
Absolutely.
life forms, yeah, from other dimensions, from other parts of the galaxy or parts of the universe.
So that's after the show. Are you talking about doing an intention for that too?
Well, I would, but I promised Ronnie I would do hers tonight.
Oh, okay, that's what I thought. I was just
I,
making
I
sure that.
really should, but it doesn't matter. We don't have to always like match things up, right? Because I was
But
talking.
we will be in a sense though. If after the show, if people want to go out and do that, those that feel
Yeah,
comfortable with it, you will actually be joining with probably thousands of people all around the world that are.
probably tens of thousands. I think he's up to a few 100,000
Wow.
ambassadors. They're called Ambassadors of Earth. You just go
Mm-hmm.
onto his website, you just log in and join with a newsletter and say, yeah, I want to be part of this. I want to be part of Earth Ambassadors to cooperative, healthy, friendly, safe interaction with other beings off of Earth. It's kind of cool.
Right.
It's kind of cool.
Yeah, because there's still the people that they feel like they're fallen angels and things like that. So
Yeah,
they're
and they
like,
think
I'm going to back out on
they're
this one.
afraid, and they say, "Oh,
Right.
they're afraid of gray or an alien or they're afraid they're going to get a gray or a reptilian show up instead of one of the Nordics, one of the beautiful Nordics with the flowing hair and the long gowns, you know."
And I don't, anything that's going to look too much different than me will probably freak me out at first. I think it's going to take some getting used to. But as long as they don't pop in my bedroom and, we
Pick
can meet
you
in a
up,
public place
grab
first.
you, and throw you on a spaceship, right? Actually, why wouldn't we freak them out? Are we that cute, furry, hairy things to other things? We must look pretty scary to them.
Well, if they're hairy, they're probably, look at those skinwalkers, Who knows?
What if they're like fish things? And they're
Yeah.
like, oh God, look at those hairy little animals. Creeping
Yeah.
me out. Creeping me out just looking at them.
Right.
I don't know. So with Ronnie, it's not a big deal, but we were talking about um the non-judgment, in that it's not just about not judging political groups. You can use discernment and say, hey, I really don't want to follow that group or that group, but I'm not going to be overcritical of, like, I'm a Democrat and they're a Republican, and I'm a Republican and they're a Democrat, or the divisions between sexes, the
Hmm.
stereotypes, or the divisions between races, and being overcritical with all those stereotypes that you don't even know where you got them from.
Yeah.
Certainly not from personal interaction.
A lot of religious walls.
Religious, what
Yeah.
about religious criticism? She was talking about how it happens even at the family level. Like, you could have somebody in your family who was really quiet, and maybe that was interpreted as being depressed or something, and everybody was like, you're no fun, you're so depressed, whatever, I'm just making that up, or you can't trust them, so and so always tells lies. And it could be somebody in your family. And then once you establish that stereotype about them, they're never allowed to outgrow that. They're never allowed to be other than what they were pegged as really early on as children: the fat one, the dumb one, the smart one, the fast one,
Right.
the kind one.
And it really is sad, isn't it?
Yeah,
It really is.
because our lives, we don't stay the same. We morph and change, just like the Mandela effect and
So
matter.
it's
We change as we grow, but then we could still have people around us from our families, our childhood, employee, past coworkers,
yeah.
and still expect us to be a certain way, and they're not allowing for growth.
That's funny you said that because it is like everyone's got backpacks on and people sort of throw these rocks in there and they just carry it along with them. I had a friend from a while back that I was talking to about the channel, like unbiased on the fence. Well, that sounds the exact opposite of you. I know. I've grown so much, and I had to get into, why I wasn't this political person anymore and why I
Wow.
wasn't this rigid religious person anymore, and how I'd opened up to just accepting people the way they are now, and it's okay, and how much I've changed, and how my 20-year-old self would probably think I lost, like I was on my way to hell and stuff. You know what I mean?
I
Like, oh, you're
do.
backslidden and you're on the way to hell. So even within my own timeline of my personal self, I would have problems with myself. So why am I going to try to impose what I believe on anyone else? You know what I
Yep.
mean? And
Maybe
not
you're not
only
judging
judging.
people anymore. Do you judge your family members critically and harshly based on old information? Or have you translated that approach to them?
I think the judging has really moved all the way out from people, and now I'm starting to realize how much we even judge situations, and uh, I mean, it goes so much further beyond just the conditions and everything.
I
I mean,
didn't,
judging goes so much further than people, and I didn't realize that because it
I didn't
seems like
either till now.
it's a person thing.
Yeah,
You're judging that person, but then you can judge the situation and of how things are playing out. You can judge everything, and then if you sort of release that and let it go. Because if you judge somebody for if we got somebody that hops in chat, for instance, and they're sort of really dogmatic with their religious beliefs, and they judge us, and then judge us, and then we turn it around and start to judge them, it's only going to sort of make them shell up. But if they're allowed to sort of be who they are, just like, hey, just don't be rude. It's okay to believe what you believe, but
it's
you
like,
know,
okay, you be you, I be me, and let's just do it nicely. And then it doesn't matter if we disagree.
yeah,
So I think we did something similar to that recently, but not so much about the letting go of all judgments and stereotypes of people, family, friends, colleagues, and situations.
hmm,
Really just doing it on a personal level in your own little bubble, instead of saying, yeah, I'm trying not to judge political parties, races, sexes. That's out there. That's the bigger groups. How
right.
about not judging and allowing people to change and morph around you?
Hmm. And it's hard because
It's
we did that with our own kids. We're like, well, that's the artist, that's the musician, and that's sort of judging on that level. So then the artist
I
feels like,
know.
well, I don't want to get into music because we've already got the musician here, and I'll never be as good as them. And then, but Yeah,
It means you get
it's
pigeonholed and you can't change. And it means that you're pigeonholing everybody around you. And because you're doing that with the xenome effect and the observer effect, you might be perpetuating things in them that they let go long ago. You might have a
hmm
negative impact on your loved ones around you by making them be the way you think they are, as
yeah.
opposed to how they really are now.
And that's exactly what I was talking about Dr. Emoto's work
Yep.
with the water.
And we're
I
full
mean,
of water, 70% water.
so if you're judging someone that's walking into a store, you're just sitting outside, you're not even interacting with them, but you're judging them in your mind. You're like affecting their water. You know, if you're like, they're
Yes.
just so disgusting or they're just so whatever,
And if more
you're
people
actually,
do the judging with you in your
yeah,
personal reality bubble, you have a lot more control and influence over people around you than you ever thought, just with
exactly.
your thoughts of them.
And then that person's feeling depressed because everyone in the store was sending all these negative vibes at the person and affecting, the 2/3 water that they're made up of. I mean, it's a fact.
That's
That,
right, because the earth is what, 70%? The human body is 70%. Maybe the universe is 70% water out there. Maybe those flickering stars, like they say, are through water.
yeah.
It's just an air bubble here that we're breathing, which is
hmm
also a form of water because it's plasma. It's electrified magnetic plasma that is the air. So that's like a really thin kind of water that we call air because it's containing oxygen and hydrogen. It's not empty,
Right.
right?
Once you realize that love is primary and all the other things are secondary, it's easy to totally let go of that and say, instead of judging, I'm just going to love. I don't need to push my view on anybody.
Yep.
I
Yep.
can propose something for someone to consider, but take it or leave it. It's okay. I don't have any attachment to anything to where, you've got to believe this, or I'm not going to like you, or you're not part of my group. This is sort of the ungroup group. This is where,
You're the ungroup
you know,
group. I just texted my daughter in her bedroom with her friends. I said, "Be quiet now. We're going to do the meditation because I can hear them. I don't think you guys can you?"
no, I couldn't anyway.
So we're the ungroup group. We're the place where you guys can go where we're working very hard to not be judgmental.
hmm
That's about your opinions. Anybody in that chat, whatever you guys really believe, that's totally okay with me. In fact, I sound like the most opinionated person on the planet because I love research. But, I just present what I find. I'm not saying it's true. I'm not even saying I believe it's true. I don't know if there were 4 pyramids in Giza or not. It's
Right.
one for me today.
Exactly.
But it sure is fun to look at it and say,
Yeah.
where did that come from?
I love to consider other ideas,
I
especially if I hadn't even thought of it. I'm like, oh, I hadn't even thought of that. That's cool to consider that. You don't have to jump on board,
No, you don't
you
have to
know?
jump on board and go, that's it. That's the answer.
Right. And then go preach it as the gospel.
Yep, yep. So, yeah, I definitely am not dogmatic with my views because I don't even believe my views. I just hold them until I find something else that tells me, nope, they've just been replaced by other views.
Yeah, and something I think today, I love that case from Everyday Master said that it's, well, something I think is true today, I might not think that tomorrow. So
Exactly.
why do I want to go out and try to convince everyone? Then I got to try to bring everybody on board with my new thoughts and beliefs or whatever.
Yeah,
So
he is so fluid. He is so fluid with the energy that he works with and his philosophy and his presentation style. He's so fluid and with the flow. We got to have him back on again. That was really fun when we
yeah,
were all chatting. Did he do the
absolutely.
meditation or did I do it that night? I always like to have guests do meditations if they
I
want.
think you did the meditation while he did.
Oh my God, yeah, he was doing the and
Yeah,
Frank in California was doing it too because
yeah.
Frank,
Frank's here too. I think, or he
yeah,
was. I don't know if he left.
he might be still lurking, still going. When are they going to do that meditation? Because we're always like, save it for the end.
Yeah, so let's do it then. I'll go
Okay,
full screen for you, and
okay, I will.
I'll kill this.
Yep, kill. That's such a bad word, but those are the kind of words we use, which tells me that maybe this video game stuff is more like the Matrix than we realize. Okay, so everybody get really, really comfy. Kind of shift around, move your neck, relax your shoulders, sit back, or stand, because I know Gokar Bob likes to stand and do meditations. If I stood and did meditations, I'd fall over. Okay, so start with a nice deep inhalation, a nice deep breath in. Really fill up those lungs. Even if you have a cough, it'll help clear them. And exhale. Exhale everything out, all the tension anywhere in your body. Breathe in Clear, clean, fresh oxygen, really oxygenating your lungs, which goes to everywhere else in your body, and exhale out any stress. Just let all the stress go if there is any. Maybe there isn't any. And then inhale a third time. Allow the clear, clean air to really fill up your whole body, oxygenating every cell in your body, and exhale. And now we're going to go straight into the heart maths breathing of breathing in through your heart. Just see it, imagine it, feel it. Exhale through your heart. Inhale through your heart at a pace that's comfortable. Don't hold it. And exhale through your heart. Now would be a good time to send down a grounding cord from your root chakra all the way through the many layers of earth until it quickly descends to the center of the earth. Let your grounding cord, it's like a cord of light, spread out in all directions, rooting you solid, safe, secure. Continue breathing in through your heart and exhaling through your heart. And if you like, this is the time that you can breathe in a beautiful crystal clear color, any color that you like. Let it fill up your body and then exhale that color back out into your surroundings. And as you continue to breathe in that beautiful healing color, realize that it's actually related to a particular chakra in your body based on the color you choose. So whatever color you chose tonight is specifically energizing that chakra and all nearby organs. And now we're going to imagine doing something that we love to do. This is from The Power of Eight and Lynn McTaggart. And it kind of builds up a protective shield around you. It energizes you as you imagine doing something you love. So you can kind of get those love feelings flowing and kind of put yourself in your own virtual reality of doing something that you love. What does it look like? What does it sound like? How does it feel? How does it make you feel in the moment now? And we're all going to spiritually hold hands as we intend together as one. And we intend tonight to let go of unnecessary judgment. There are times when we need to make judgments throughout the day that could involve safety or work or nutrition. Those are not really judgments, those are discernments. Go ahead and make all of those. You don't have to release those. You have a right to say, I like this kind of food, but I don't like that kind of food. And you have the freedom to choose. Those are your discernments. What clothes you wear, what food you eat, how you spend your time, who you spend your time with. Go ahead and value your discernments because they really do make you who you are. And they set a great example for other loved ones around you. The judgments that we're going to just let go of, we're just going to let them go out of our minds, out of our hearts, and out of our physical bodies. Those judgments are critical and they involve perhaps unfair expectations and tags on people, maybe family members, maybe coworkers, maybe neighbors, maybe exes. And they're also very, very critical of events and situations where you jump to a judgment immediately based on something that you were told, something that you saw on television, something that you learned in school, something your parents told you because it was real for them. So they were making it real for you, and maybe it's not real for you. Something that maybe you picked up from your friends. Let go of those critical judgments, the kind of judgments that hold other people at certain levels, where you're actually judging their intelligence, their goodness, and their right to ascend Are they as smart as you? Are they as good as you? Are they as generous or kind as you? We're just going to let those kind of judgments that we place on people based on past behavior and based on past expectation, we're just going to release those right now and right here. And we're going to go silent for just 3 minutes. And if you like, you can continue to release overly critical judgment of others in your reality bubble, in your world around you. I'm not talking about political parties or races or religious groups. We're talking about people and events that you interact with daily. And if you like, you can specifically release critical judgments on a specific person. And in doing so, you not only free yourself to experience them differently, you actually free them to be different. Okay, and before you start to move around and open your eyes, realize that during any moment of any day or evening, if you ever catch yourself being a little bit overcritical about someone in your life or a situation in your life, you can step back and do what you've just done now. And you can just choose to release that criticism and that critical belief about them Say it out loud or say it to yourself. I choose to release my critical opinion of blank and allow them to be who they really are. And then sit back and kind of see how they change, see how you maybe view them differently. So start to move around, maybe stretch your neck a little bit, your shoulders, move your ankles, your arms, and open your eyes.
That was beautiful. So
Thank you.
what came to me was many of Dolores Cannon's sessions. You know, people would pass on, and then they would look back and say, "Oh my gosh, it was all a game. It was all a play. It was all this grand play." And if you can sort of keep that in mind, so then that moved me to sort of this, I guess, high school setting of, I don't know if anybody's been in a high school play or part of it in any kind of way, but if you're playing, if you're in this role, everyone's got their roles they're playing. No one, after it's all over, everyone goes out and bows, right? Even like the bad guy, the hero, and the villain go out and they bow together at the end of this grand play. So if you imagine, you know, as we encounter other people, that everyone is just sort of playing their part, playing their role. They're doing exactly what they should be doing because they're playing their own particular role, and we don't really have a right to judge them. Actually, it's almost silly to, if you think about a play, for the hero to judge the villain in it, you know, because you realize that, oh, he's just doing what he's supposed to be doing, and it's really our decision to insert ourselves into that scene, if you know, to become the adversary of that person playing out their role. It's our own free will to do that, and we don't have to do that. We can just be the observer, the lover of what's going on, and just appreciate. It's almost like an appreciation of them playing that role, and almost, you know, in some sense, if for the really bad roles that people have to play, just being thankful, like, oh, so glad I didn't get casted to do that role.
Yeah, I'm
Do
so
you know what I'm
glad
saying?
I don't have to do this, or I don't choose to do this.
Right.
This is not a role that a costume I'm willing to wear.
Exactly. But it's okay that they're doing it. I
Yeah,
mean, you might not be okay with their actions, but there's, you know, it's not your job to, like someone who just said that, they were quoting A Course in Miracles in the chat, I noticed, where it's, you know, sort of being okay, just having the unconditional love, realizing they're doing what they're doing, and, you know, you might not be okay with whatever it is, but, you know, who's okay with the villain while you're watching the play either? You're like, oh, get him. You're rooting for the hero, right?
and if you choose to respond against something, you're choosing the hero's journey. You're
Yeah.
trying to say, I'm going to fix all this, not only for me, but for the whole world. I'm going to be the hero.
And like we were talking
Doing what they're doing,
last week, like you don't want to insert yourself into the scene if you can't do anything about it,
which is why
right?
you work within your reality bubble to act.
Yeah,
But outside of your reality bubble, you pray.
right.
Because we can't run over to the Middle East right now and go, okay, guys, everybody sit down at this table. I'm getting the Starbucks and we're going to talk about this. We're going to hash this out tonight with me. We can't do that. So at least we can pray about it and release it. You know, we can do the Ho'oponopono, clear and clean it and release it. But
Yeah,
in our reality bubble, in our physical world, we can act very easily. We can act on everything.
yeah,
And that's where our action is the most powerful.
right. Okay, I'm going to take part in this scene. I can be the hero in the specific scene that's been laid out before me. I can have a positive effect with it. You know, you are the star of your own life.
I'm going to observe. I'm not going to step in and play the hero and fight you. This could be like your child. It could be your brother. This could be your dog, you know. And you could say, I'm not going to play that role. I'm not going to be the adversary fighting you because I don't agree with what you're doing right now. I'm going to just observe and see where this goes. And 9 times out of 10, all of the conflict disappears because they have to have something to push against. If 2 people come together in an argument and one of them decides to observe the argument and not argue anymore, argument's over because one person can't fight alone. They're always
Right.
waiting for that response that's going to push against them. And when that doesn't come, they have nothing left to say.
It really brings a whole new meaning to Jesus saying, "Turn the other cheek," doesn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, you really think
Yeah.
of it like that, and it's like that's not very fun because like somebody wants to fight, you're like, "Come on, put up your dukes," you know what I mean?
You're like, come on, come on.
not gonna, not gonna do it. What are
Yeah.
you just gonna just start pounding on me? You know?
Exactly. Exactly. So that really does give new meaning to that saying.
Yeah.
So, yeah, if you can just step back and start observing, you're a very good observer because you've taught me a lot to step back and just kind of look at the situation, but don't act. Don't judge. Just look at it.
And it does help a lot. It really does.
It probably just everything resolves itself once you take
Hmm.
away the part that they're pushing against and they have nothing left to push against. They're just like going to go flying on their face because there's nothing to push against to hold them up.
Yeah. It's the resistance. It's sort of like, if the Earth wasn't resisting us, we'd just be flying through space, right?
Yes, which our higher selves probably are. Who knows, right? We don't know where that is, or maybe it's permanent fixed. I don't know. I know nothing.
And that's the big hurdle to get over is coming to the conclusion that I don't know anything.
I don't know
What
anything.
do I
The
really
more I
know?
learn, the more I realize how little I know. Because
Yeah.
when I didn't know very much, I thought I knew it all. Seriously, I was an expert on everything
Oh, when I was a teenager, I knew everything. It
I
was amazing.
in my 20s. Everything. And that's what the Hindu gurus and priests taught me at the ashram. They said, when it's out there far away in the big world, you know, just observe it. And then eventually, when they've got nothing to push against, they'll follow you too. They'll follow your example when there's nothing left for them to push against.
Well, thank you, Ronnie, so much for bringing that up.
Yeah, it was a great topic discussion.
That's like that's sort of like forgiveness. It's one of those things that no matter where you are, you can always, as long as you're down here in 3D, you'll find yourself kind of going back to that at some level or another. I mean, you might get a lot better about it, but you're still going to do it a little bit, and you can always work on it.
Baby steps, right?
Baby steps for sure. So,
And the first thing is recognizing that it is a fault that you have and it is
yeah,
something you can change.
right.
That's the first step, is even
And you actually go through the stage where you realize about the judging, but then you want to judge others for judging. So I mean, it's like this self. I don't know.
or
It's
to
just kind
judge
of funny,
yourself for judging. Oh my God, I'm so terrible. I just judged somebody. That's a judge.
right?
That compounds the judging. Don't get mad at yourself. Don't judge
Right.
yourself for judging.
Yeah, it was Wanda that said the Course in Miracles quote, and
Yeah.
you never stop learning. That's right. We're in the school and we're learning and we're growing.
We're
And
doing A
like
Course in Miracles with about, I don't know, between 30 and 50 of us on my channel. I put out 5 every Sunday and they're 5 minutes long. It's just the workbook. And we just
very
go ahead
nice.
and do them when we feel like it and leave comments, in the comments. It's just kind of giving you a little group, a place to go where you're not doing it alone.
Yeah, and I want to let you guys know that aren't already subscribed to Eileen. I've got her link to her YouTube
Thank
channel
you.
down there. And you've got your book, 40 Days, 40 Nights,
Do and
Manifestation Key.
next week, if you don't mind, I know you don't mind, you're so generous. I would like to read next week just a mystical meaning of the number 40 because this is a 40 year. It's 2020. 20 and 20 is
Yeah.
40, which means it's also a 4 year. It's a 4.
Hold the book up. I got you full screen now.
Oh, thank you. So next week, just revealing from this book for free to all of us the mystical meaning of 40.
40 Days and 40 Nights, Manifestation Key.
Yeah,
Very nice.
if we go further into the book, which we don't have to do, I can sum it up for you guys. And it's basically a program, but whereby you use the 40 days and the 40 nights to change something drastically in your life. And it's a method. It's a
Yeah.
true method that came to me verbally, like in the old-fashioned way when people used to be storytellers. It was passed
Yeah.
on from person to person to person to person by word of mouth. And I'm like, darn it, this works. It's worked for me. It's worked for my family, and it's worked for my friends. I'm going to put it in a book. I'm going to take it out of the oral tradition and write it down.
Perfect. So glad you did. It is a great read.
Thank you. Thank you. It is fun. And a lot of us here have already got the book because I'm getting emails and texts and comments. And I'm glad, it's really short. You can read it in less than a day. And if you start it, tomorrow would be a good day to start it because of the 02/02/2020.
02022020.
Yes, which is even better than the 02 Well, we've also got another kind of portal Stargate coming up on 0220, which is the 20th of February, 2020.
Right.
But this one looks a little bit more significant with the 0202 2020.
Yeah, it's got the mirror there.
Yeah, if you flipped them, they'd
I
be.
love the mirrors.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure, a mirror.
I always noticed the 1221 one, which is actually turns out to be 111 11s, because
Are you
11s are my.
serious?
Yeah, if you do 111 times 11, it's 1221. So when you see 1221 on the clock,
Oh, I never knew
it's
that.
111 11s.
That's very significant.
Yeah, it's
Thank you.
cool, isn't
I
it?
had no idea.
Very cool. So that one always stands out to me, and it's the mirror as well
It's the
as
mirror.
111 11s.
So if you want to start writing your intentions and then speaking them out loud and giving them a lot of gratitude and then acting on them in some way, symbolic or not symbolic, tomorrow would be a brilliant time to start doing that because of the numerological portal.
And it's Groundhog's Day.
Tomorrow already?
Yeah, 2-2.
Is it always on 2/2? Is that
Yeah,
Groundhog's Day? It never like
that's
moved
the
around
day.
like Easter or anything like that.
No, it doesn't move. It's 2-2 because that's my lifelong best friend's birthday. He's always had the Groundhog's Day.
Well, one of
Um,
my favorite movies ever is Groundhog Day. If you haven't seen that movie, treat yourself. It is hysterically funny. You've seen
yeah,
it?
it is.
You've seen
Oh
it?
yeah, it's a
Okay.
great movie.
It's wonderful.
What's the Panatunxi or some weird name? Panatunxi Phil or
Punxsutawney Phil. He's real, isn't
Punxsutawney
he?
Phil?
Don't we really have a
Yeah, I
Punxsutawney
think they
Phil?
replaced them, but I
But
think they
there's
they,
still a
they
town called Punxsutawney, right?
right, and they're gonna
Well,
whip him out tomorrow and see if he sees his shadow
and
or
runs
whatever
back
they do.
in and hides for 6 more weeks of winter. I love it. Love it. Famous hedge. What is it? A hedgehog? No, it's not a hedgehog. What is it?
Groundhog,
Ground.
groundhog. Yeah, yeah,
Groundhog.
yeah.
Okay.
I freaking love groundhogs. Oh, pork chop gang Terry.
Ah,
She
Terry.
loves.
How are
Yeah,
your
I do
little
too.
kitties? She's adopting kitties.
I think that was groundhogs that we would feed in Colorado. You feed them or whatever,
Are
and they'd
those,
come out. And
are
they
those
look like little gerbils or something. Don't they?
out of the ground and they just pop up and then disappear like in little holes?
Are they like moles then? Probably in the mole family, aren't they?
Moles are really ugly, but they're beautiful. All animals are beautiful, but they're really ugly. They have these red noses with look like tentacles coming off of them.
Oh, okay.
No, I've seen a groundhog. Unfortunately, they sell them in a pet store in a city near me. They're very cute. They're just like giant gerbils. They even run on giant gerbil wheels. It's kind of fun.
Wow.
They need to be in the ground somewhere.
Seems like when they do the shadow thing, the Groundhog Day, it seems like they're way bigger than
I
what I was
know,
thinking
don't
of.
they kind of look like a beaver?
Oh, prairie dogs. Yeah, Ronnie. Yeah, I was
Oh,
thinking
and
of prairie dogs.
who's correcting us? Is that Ronnie?
Yeah.
Ronnie, you
Thank you,
are
Ronnie.
my
You're
mom.
involved.
Our prairie dogs.
Yeah.
Okay, so a groundhog. I'm going to look it up. As soon as I get off of here, I am going to search images so I can see what a groundhog looks like. Because to me, I just remember it as kind of like a flat gray beaver.
There's a ton of dogs that aren't dogs. Prairie dogs,
Yeah, they're not
groundhogs.
dogs. How'd they get that
Well, that's
dog name?
a hog. Sorry, groundhogs. That's not
Groundhog.
a hog either.
No, they're not hogs either.
That's funny.
Happy Groundhog Day, everybody, and happy 0202 2020 portal, Ascension portal tomorrow.
Yes, absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Eileen, for a wonderful meditation, and thank you so much, Ronnie, for bringing it up.
Thank you for the meditation topic, Ronnie. I loved it. Love you.
Yeah, we love you guys in the chat and you guys watching later, right now. And we'll see you on the next one. Have a good one. Peace, everybody.
Peace.
Be sure to check out the website at uotf.net. There you will find the live stream schedule displayed in your local time right there on the front page. Below that, you'll find links to take the Beyond Quantum Healing course at a discounted rate, purchase our book, Mandela Effect, Friend or Foe, in paperback or ebook, or to contact me to schedule a BQH session. At the top of the site, you'll find links to help support the work I do, access the free private forum where you can discuss organizing get-togethers in your area, Mandela effects, and more. Thank you all so much for being here.